Welcome, Bitcoiners. We have no idea why, but the stupid camera was not getting read by the stupid computer. So it was a black screen for 10 minutes. I reset my computer a bunch of times. No idea what the hell's. I think I'm being forced into an update by Apple, but who knows. The good news is the sun is up, and I checked in the meantime. Bitcoin's running. So let's have some coffee, talk about what's new. Hello, Audacious. Thanks for making it. Hello, me. Yes, indeed. Greetings, Earthlings. Kevin Opar, P-Man Van. It is. It is. It is. It is. It is a good morning. It is a good morning. It is a good morning. All right. So, as you know, we like to start our show with the fakest news we can find. Right? What's Moscow time offering up today? Everyone yesterday debating about the COVID lab leak story and the ins and outs. Of course, very difficult for some people to face up to reality here. And they got an out. They got an out, right? So we talked yesterday about follow the money, follow the science, how Bitcoiners were definitely helped with the follow the money frame instead of follow the science. But that's not even enough, right? They got a new one, right? Here it is. Here it is. Listen to the weasel words, right? Here's CNN Politics. The Department of Energy's low confidence assessment that COVID-19 was most likely originated from a laboratory leak in China is still a minority view within the intelligence community. It's follow the intelligence, right? So it's follow the intelligence now, right? Don't follow the science. That didn't work out. Follow the intelligence. Here's a little test for, I think we might be the smartest audience, the smartest group of people, most informed. Smartest is maybe not the right way to say it. The most informed, right? The most up to date, the most aware of what's going on around us. We've talked about all kinds of different tricks, narrative bias, and all that stuff. Listen to this one, right? So everyone talking today about the 15-minute cities, right? So we've got the London Daily Times with a headline today saying, "What are 15-minute cities and why are anti-vaxxers so angry about them?" Anti-vaxxers? What the hell does that have to do with it? Conspiracy theorists claim that attempts to make urban areas more walkable, it's about walkability, are part of a global plan to suppress civil liberties. So the Times has another one here. Wired UK. Conspiracy theorists are coming for the 15-minute city. Road.cc, never heard of them, but they got an article up too. Why is the 15-minute city attracting so many conspiracy theorists? The Herald, 15-minute neighborhood conspiracy theories are easy to mock. The Guardian, in praise of the 15-minute city. The mundane planning theory, terrifying conspiracists. This is called anchor bias, right? We did a show on it once where you can grab one pejorative group and then just smash others into it, and they'll be sort of guilty by association, right? Anchor bias. So anchor bias here, of course, is to lump all these conspiracy theorists, even anti-vaxxers, right? Remember the anti-vaxxers. So what did we all learn? Anti-vax attitudes and all that stuff. Well, right, there was no right answer, right? There was no wrong answer. No one should be sure of what happened. The whole thing's a mess, right? The whole thing's a psyop. The whole thing's complicated, labyrinthian. But here, the exposition is really just about associating anyone who would criticize the brilliant policies of folks to move them around and make sure they can go here and not there, and cars can't move. So it's more walkable. Of course, it's more walkable, right? More walkable. But of course, we know now that persuasion works in a certain way, anchor bias works, narrative bias works. And here, the excellent persuaders behind mainstream media have found a way to lump them all in together. So if you didn't check the results of the vaccine mandates, if you didn't check the results of the vaccine systems all around the world, well, you might still think that all these anti-vaxxers are out on a limb, right? And now the same people are complaining about the 15-minute cities, apparently. So you can hate them too, right? You can hate them too. But the good news is, when the whole system starts relying on these contrasts, right? Grouping all these people into one category, grouping the people who oppose into another. They're playing into something that could help Bitcoiners, that could help us change the whole world, that could help us lay the cognitive rails for people to break out of these systems of control, right? And it comes down to this, and Bitcoiners still have a lot to learn about this. This I would say, is a weak point, this idea here for Bitcoiners, right? Between a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset. So Cernovich did a whole piece this morning about parenting and scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset. He mentions that children, of course, and I see this, right? Children, his children, my children, most children are born with this scarcity mindset, right? You praise one child, the other child will get a little bit jealous. You say one thing about, let me just make sure my audio is coming in good here. Oh, it is not coming in good. Fix it. Audio should be coming in better now, team. Let me know if it got better. Should be better. Should be better. All the settings on this stupid thing. God, can't stand this streaming software. So, Cernovich did it on this morning, and it's true. Children are sort of born with this scarcity mindset, and it takes a lot of parenting to get over that for the children. It's good. Okay, we're good. And you can really frame these two things in this way, right? Zero sum being a big part of the scarcity mindset. That's, to me, still the big lie of Marxism, right? The big lie of communism and Marxism is that someone's wealth is based on the poverty of others. If capitalism works properly, of course, right, everyone gets rich. You remember when everyone freaked out about Steve Jobs not giving money to charity and why wasn't he more generous and blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll take a rich Steve Jobs, right? I don't care how rich he got. I'll take a rich Steve Jobs. The man solved global illiteracy. You realize that, right? His inventions beat every single NGO, every single feel good, do good group that ever existed, because he put microchips in every single person's hand. He put the entire wealth of human knowledge into everyone's hand. And the number of people that have become literate because of technology, because physical books are no longer required. Now, you see all these rewriting of books that's going on these days. I definitely still have an appetite for physical books, like the Roald Dahl, whatever his name is. That author, we're seeing that I guess Penguin or Puffin or one of these publishers is retroactively editing the book to take out all kinds of unfairness language, right? They're trying to monitor the language of the book to make it fair. So even using the word black in a way that's pejorative, like I think one of the ones that they've taken away is mentioning like black cupboards or something like that, like really mundane stuff, right? Really mundane stuff. But remember, audio gained some bass. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, which is good. Great. So this mindset, we're pre-baked that way. That's why it's really easy to prey on, right? Now, I would even say that there's plenty of Bitcoiners out there who fall for this stuff, right? When Bitcoiners say, "Oh, scarcity," and we require a scarce asset, it's true that that Bitcoin being countable has tremendous advantages, but it doesn't mean that scarcity is what we all have to accept in life, right? We don't. It's still infinity over 21 million. So scarcity is definitely a part of it in the sense that we can count, but it's still infinite, right? We still have access to everything that is out there, and in a total abundance mindset still applies to Bitcoiners, right? We can have maximum amounts of energy. We can have maximum amounts of innovation. We can have maximum amount of opportunity because of Bitcoin, right? It doesn't mean we all have to accept this world. Now, we end up tricking ourselves because we use the word scarcity in order to promote Bitcoin very regularly. But we're not promoting a scarcity mindset. We're promoting a countable asset through which all other things in the world can be measured by, through which infinity can be measured by. That's why understanding that it's infinity over 21 million as the defining worldview behind Bitcoin is really important, right? Because it is an abundance mindset. Bitcoiners are not here telling you you got to ration the amount of steak you eat or the amount of energy you use or go in a 15-minute city. We'll never say that, right? Not even because of control or opposition to control, because it literally makes no sense, right? We have everything we need on the world in the world. We can grow our population healthily. I don't think we're anywhere near saturated on the planet. I reject all Malthusian calculations about human numbers, right? When they were making those predictions back in the 60s about mouths to feed, right? Remember, for every new mouth you have to feed, you have two hands to work, right? So exponentially, we're going to keep growing our capacity. We feed more people in the world today with the acreage and arable land, with less acreage and arable land and actual less farming on the total surface of the earth than we did in the 60s, right? So we've become much more efficient. Now, I know there's all kinds of manipulation of our food sources, all kinds of manipulation of agriculture and those kinds of things. So we have to be conscious of that, right? I'm 100% against industrial farming. Forget it. I don't go near it. I want the animals to be. I always knew this for years and did my best, but I was easily persuaded. When you live in a city and you want to go to the grocery store, and you go to the grocery store and you don't really care if the fat cap is pure white. And I didn't know any of this stuff, right? I understood the difference through Bitcoin, right? Through being with Bitcoiners, through all the bro science that comes along, community. You're able to. Audio coming in and out, guys? How are we doing? My wife just said it's coming in and out. Well, let me know. And we don't want audio in and out. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. All right. So the good for me. Yeah. Okay. Good. 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 Now this mindset, right? Little buffering. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna do what I did yesterday as well. Some skips. God damn it. I'll be doing a few live recordings later again and see how that goes. So I don't know what to do. Very good audio now. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Here's where this 15-minute city starts to become a disease, right? And real trouble. Look at the case of South Africa right now, right? Do you guys paying attention to what's going on in South Africa? It's pretty bad, right? So there's warnings for people to stockpile food. Looks like people are talking about a civil war breaking out there. Wall Street Silver says a country of 60 million is on the verge of collapse amid rolling blackouts. People are advised to have 72 hours of food and water, rolling 12-hour blackouts leading to more chaos. Now, I've seen a few examples of this, like a mall can come back on, the power will turn off, rolling blackouts, but because they have their own generators and these guys have some commercial capacity, they'll charge up the generators and they'll move on, right? Jesse Kelly, who is a Twitter personality, Jesse Kelly DC, was talking with someone, and here's his tweet. He says, "Talk to a dude from South Africa this weekend. We were going on about the disaster that has become that country. At one point, he said to me, 'Well, you guys are going on the same way quickly.'" And he says, "Man, that stung." And in some ways, you can kind of see it, right? So everyone talking about this collapse. Let's just look at some of the things that are going on. First of all, have you seen there's traffic jams of dump trucks carrying coal, leaving the country, leaving the coal mines and bringing the coal to the port to what? Export to Europe, because they're burning more coal than they ever have. Greta must be so upset, right? Greta cannot be happy about this. Haven't heard her say anything about it yet, but she can't be happy about it. So you have this right away, this embracing of scarcity in that country, right? Depletion of resources, completely unfair.
Zero sum game. Europe's getting all the coal, which they don't even want. They don't even want it, right? They've already covered towns in northern latitudes with solar panels and blighted their entire countryside along the north. But, right, at least they're going to keep the lights on for now. For now. So huge traffic jams of coal being exported to the European Union. That's just one part of it. Zombieland, K9 Reaper on Twitter. I think it is somewhere between you, YouTube, and me where the audio glitches lie. Yeah, it's got to be somewhere there, Boo Boo Bodacious says. Jesus Christ. Hate these softwares. Why can't it be simple? Why? I don't get it. So, here's what K9 Reaper says. South Africa is a beautiful country and home to many unique languages and cultures, such as the Afrikaner or Boer. We have a base load of around 70 million people, access to both sea and land trade, and are considered a great tourist destination. McTimmy, coming in clear for me. Yeah, okay. No glitches here. Great, guys. Just keep letting me know. We're going to try and fix this. I check the internet every day before I go on just to know if I'm going to have trouble. And we looked super strong today. So, I mean, 100 megabytes a second upload time. So I'm at a loss if I don't understand. So he says, we live in a truly beautiful country, a place like no other. Our winters are short, summers are long. Our country is huge too. I love this land, as did my forefathers who built it. But here is what they're not telling you. Wasteland, he says. Our infrastructure is just short of completely obliterated. Infrastructure required for immediate and long-term access to life in general is either non-existent or hanging on a string. Here's a short list. Sewage treatment, no water doing real well, nothing's working effectively. There's an article that he cites here that says a tsunami of human waste. Half of South Africa's sewage treatment works are failing. Water processing works. Of the millions of kilometers of piping, we only have an average of 64% access to fresh drinking water. The system is dying. Blackouts are making it worse. Now, what did we just see in America with a bunch of water all over the country? You know, the pipes all over Michigan and all across the land. We've got these issues, right, with our water treatment. So, the electrical grid. By now, most of you know that South Africa is going through load shedding, where the government turns off large parts of the electrical grid in order to avoid grid collapse. This leads to every possible issue imaginable. With the above rolling blackouts comes less water, no comms, and just complete decay of jobs and hope. It's a sad picture, where you go for an average of 8 to 12 hours a day without power, and sometimes without water or power for days. Almost every single state-run enterprise is defunct. They're literally the spitting image of Zimbabwe. Eskom, our only power producer, is dead in the water, averaging 50% or less power output. A complete lack of maintenance, corruption, leading to bankruptcy and literal sabotage of the generating plants has led to this, right? We've seen sabotage in American plants lately, haven't we? We've seen it in North Carolina, we've seen it in Florida, we've seen it in Las Vegas, we've seen it in California. We've seen all kinds of trouble within our own electrical grid and the troubles that have been going on around there. Our rail is dead. He says a quarter of our freight gone in not just 5 years. But it's worse now. The rail just isn't there anymore. It's gone. It's stolen. Every piece of available track, copper cable, and scrap metal gone. Now, I saw a story in America just recently where a building somewhere in New York City, they stripped the copper right out of the building. So there was no electricity in the building because they could take the copper and sell it on some, market. The roads filled with potholes. Now the trains again. Look at our rail infrastructure in America. I mean, how many train derailments have we had? Have we been paying attention to since the Ohio incident? Right. Remember, the official explanation to explain away what happened in Ohio was, oh, there's so many rail accidents. They happen all the time. What's the big deal, right? What's the big deal? Port infrastructure falling apart, crumbling, they say. City power having huge problems. Substations collapsing, exploding. Police force non-existent. When I left New York City in the summer of 2020, There was no police anymore. You couldn't call the police in the summer of love, in the summer of 2020, right? You couldn't call. There was no police. The cars were just destroyed. They just left them on the street, smashed, burnt, empty, graffitied all over. There was no one coming, right? There was nothing like that. There were no services. And how many places in America are like that now? I mean, how many of these videos are we seeing in cities now? How many are real? How many are fake? I don't know. When were they taken? Who knows? But every day I see another deli getting attacked. There was one I saw the other day where, I don't even want to repeat it. It's just so bad, right? Owner in front of children, casualness of the murderer eating in the deli, really bad stuff, really, really bad. But it's happening all over. It looks like, right? To what extent, I don't know, right? We're constantly being flooded by psyops, so putting this in context isn't easy, right? I don't always know if they're true or when they were taken or how old they are, and as we know with AI and the ability to synthesize video so easily now, how much of this is real? I mean, I think a lot of it looks real, but again, we can't trust video, right? It doesn't really matter though in the end because all of it comes from this mindset, right? When you start selling the scarcity mindset, right? Unfairness, for example, right? Unfairness is not a real thing in the world. It's fake. Unfairness was invented or not invented. Unfairness exists as a subject for stupid people and children to talk about an issue. It comes from exactly as Cernovich said, right? Scarcity being sort of a hardwired fact of our youth, right? We're born that way. We're born to think that if my brother or sister gets something, I didn't get it, therefore zero sum, right? And unfairness comes from that mindset that children have. But that's why we get older and we learn that there is no such thing as fair or unfair in the world. Like show me some fairness. Put it on, give me an ounce of fairness. There's no such thing, right? Now, when you hear the low IQ moron idiots sharing their worldview, it's usually about the fairness factor, right? But there's no such thing. There's literally no such thing. If anyone cared about fairness, there would be protests for how short people are treated. There would be protests for how black people and fat people and all kinds of things. Now, we see it in race very easily, right? We always see it with race. Always people talking about unfairness in race. But what about all the other unfairness in the world? I mean, it never ends, right? It's everywhere. It's not fair. And to take a worldview with fairness as your measure is insane. It doesn't get you anywhere, right? So we live in an unfair world. That's just the way it was built. Now, we don't have to accept unfairness. We want opportunities for everyone. We want equal opportunity for people. We would not have anything that's systematically keeping people down. I say all the time the school system in America is particularly unfair. It is the main vehicle through which institutional racism continues to pervade America. We have institutional racism in America. It's a real thing. And it comes from the teachers' unions, it comes from the way the housing market and local taxes are so infused with services that are quality or not quality. And so these are real things, right? They're totally real, but it's no way to treat the problem. Like to complain about the fairness of it is not really going to get you anywhere, right? You've got to change your mindset as you get older, right? We were born with this scarcity mindset, but as we get older, we have to understand that abundance is possible, that we've already created it, right? We already live in a world where we have way more food and calories and way more capacity. It's just not shared properly. It's just not distributed in a way that we can see everyone is getting a decent opportunity and a decent shake in this world, right? So those things are really important to key in on when we're trying to have a worldview that will get us to the next level. Now, the reason why Bitcoiners prosper and the reason why we're going to recreate the world and make it a much better place, and the reason why we are the D-Day of World War III, we are the crack faction that is going to fix these problems is because we've already understood this abundance mindset, right? We're not sitting here complaining about zero sum games and there's only so much of the pie. We understand we can grow the pie, right? We understand that the exponential capacity of the things that we're doing, right? Whether it be energy, for example, right? If we can tap Bitcoin into energy and take over the energy industry as the main psychological reference rate for the energy markets, we're going to find out a lot more about the corruption of our current system, the greed in our current system, and the disincentive to create more energy than ever before, right? So, one of the reasons why Bitcoiners are going to win is because we're not going to rebuild the things that are breaking. We're not rebuilding these huge grids. We're not rebuilding all of this stuff. We're going to find ways on a much smaller scale to make more energy for everyone that's resistant to all of these things that are going on in South Africa. And, South Africa could be primed, could be one of the first places that benefits from this kind of ingenuity. We've seen the company Gridless creating these small hydroelectric dams that have as their anchor tenant a Bitcoin miner. These things can really proliferate, right? If this kind of thing catches on, a place like South Africa is only going to benefit. I mean, imagine South Africa with its rivers, with its natural resources, can very easily start getting smaller scale stuff built and functioning, right? It doesn't take much to get a hydro dam going. As long as there's gravity, it's going to work, right? These are not, it's not rocket science, right? It's pretty easy to implement. And that's where the ingenuity can come from as well, right? We see Bitcoiners already heavily involved in new ways of deploying this stuff. And we're going to see it with the small modular nuclear reactors as well, right? We're going to see that implemented, and we're going to see Bitcoiners at the center of the proliferation of these things because the cities, the municipalities, the current political structures that we are so far into this scarcity mindset that they're going to make calculations. NIMBYism, can we really build a nuclear reactor in this? What are we going to do, right? You're going to see that they're not going to be the buyers that the small modular nuclear reactor builders are anticipating and hoping for, right? Who's going to buy these things? In the end, it's going to be private interests that can build them. And this is the important part where there's no people currently. And you can imagine that new types of cities can grow up around these nuclear reactors or around these new power sources. And we get a fresh shake on ingenuity and opportunity to rebuild the way we live, right? We can that's why when we see Kanye West, for example, talking about these new urban designs, he's thinking about these new housing designs and city designs, and you look at some of the configurations he's got, right? It really looks interesting where people share eating space and have really good private spaces, and you're going to see all kinds of new experimentation in how we live. And it's not going to be along the suburban model that proliferated in the last generation. Remember, all this suburban architecture that was created and infrastructure and civil engineering that came out of World War II really just catered to the automobile and everything that was going on with that. But remember, the automobile, even the size of a car, right? Everything we know about the scale of the automobile really has to do with the weird incentives of supply chains and the oil industry and the amount of parts required and the petrodollar, right? And in the end, the car is built and configured the way it is to keep you safe from the actual combustion engine. It's the weight of the combustion engine that causes all this carnage on our streets and all these dead, mangled bodies and airbags and all of this complication, right? If you're dealing with a simple supercapacitor and a simple drive chain, you are greatly reducing the amount of parts required to build an automobile. You can get back to a local, ingenious car production of local bespoke vehicles, all kinds of style, all kinds of differences, colors, configurations, everything is coming our way. And that's going to alter exactly how we build things, right? We won't need the same size of roads. We won't need the same scale of living. And everything that flowed from the previous system, the suburban scale, the suburban lifestyle, can be altered, right? It will just change because the actual medium of how we get around will change. And again, Bitcoiners are pretty far ahead on some of this stuff and in seeing these reconfigurations. We see it in the way we approach education, right? We're not relying on these big school boards and public school systems. You see Bitcoiners already just independently with ourselves relying on person to person contact. We're relying on much smaller scale information diffusion, but I'd say information goes viral within the Bitcoin community much faster than it does in almost any community out there that I've ever seen, right? So we're able to share information really quick. We're able to vet the information. We're able to filter the information really quickly. And that gives us tremendous advantages, right? We're not stuck with all the psyop confusion that everyone else has, right? We're not, even that story about the lab leak, right? What the hell's going on here? Like, I thought this was confirmed a long time ago. Like, am I waiting for the Department of Energy to tell me that it was a lab leak for COVID? I'm pretty sure we've heard from enough people who know what the hell's going on that said there's no way this can be anything but, right? And we have enough track record of the liars and the psyop propagators to know that it's been this way for a while. So when I heard this story over the weekend, the Department of Energy has suggested or confirmed or whatever it is they did about the lab leak. I was like, well, didn't they do that a couple months ago, or didn't I hear that from someone else a couple months ago? It's hard to keep track of all this stuff, right? But I wasn't surprised this weekend when we got that story. It's been my working assumption for quite a while now. Who caused the lab leak? Who caused the virus? Who did the gain of function? That's still up for debate. Looking more and more like America was heavily involved in it, right? And we're gonna not be surprised again as Bitcoiners because we've been able to share information, we've been able to filter information much quicker between ourselves and amongst ourselves. That we have tremendous advantages in our worldview as a result, right? So we're not held up by the same troubles now. And that's really where things come down to, right? Like, we're not going to be just rebuilding this whole scarcity mindset world. We're building something totally new, right? Building those railroad tracks. We're not rebuilding those energy systems that exist before. We're building new things. And so this stuff will continue to decay. I don't think it's going to stop, right? We're going to have decay of all this stuff for quite a while, but we're going to have the capacity to build brand new. And it's a major advantage, right? It's a major advantage. And when you think of just how opportunity even works in Bitcoin right now, right? You see all this innovation with the ordinals and Noster and content creators, and you're going to see all kinds of new opportunities and strategies and fields of potential open up for folks. And you're going to see people get successful and model it for others, and then more people are going to copy it. And no one's going to be crying about unfairness, right? And no one's going to be crying about depletion once we rebuild all of these things, right? And right now, this is basically the psyop that's being propagated on a daily basis. You can can pretty much everything in modern news today, everything in our communication system, everything that comes out of the intelligence community, everything that comes out of mainstream media, left and right? This is where left and right are politically just behind what it is we're doing in Bitcoin, right? It's all zero sum, it's all depletion, it's all unfairness, right? And in every way. You hear all these people, oh, it's unfair, they ballot harvested. Oh, right. Well, get on the program, Republicans, right? Um, Whereas we understand that the best resource we have as human beings, the best resource we have is our ingenuity, right? It's unlimited. We have an unlimited resource of ingenuity. And as long as we deploy that in a way that incentives work to better every person, right? As long as we understand that it's not zero sum, it's plus plus, it's exponential, look at just talking about Steve Jobs earlier, right? He solved global illiteracy, guys. Global illiteracy. It's like the worst thing, right? Having illiterate people in the world keeps the whole world down. And you got to solve it, right? You got to make everyone capable of reading and writing and navigating a complicated world. and he solved it and got super rich, right? And I'm okay with him being rich. I don't care if he gave anything away. I wish he would have after his wife took over all of these propaganda outlets and spent all of his hard-earned money and success on this bullshit. But we don't get to choose, and that's fine. It's her business, right? So, as Bitcoiners, right, we're embracing an abundance mindset, and an abundance mindset is going to help us recreate all of these systems in the world and help us solve all of the weight of this scarcity mindset that's been just dragging America down, dragging the world down. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to build some new stuff. And if people want to stay in this scarcity mindset, like children, right, like children who are born that way, they can, but more and more people are growing up. More and more people are taking on a more mature attitude and not crying about unfairness. I mean, literally 90% of stories in the news are the unfairness of race relations and the unfairness of sometimes they get into the rich and poor, but only if it serves a sort of zero sum communist mindset, right? So you hear about the unfairness, and then in general about rich and poor, it's because the rich people stole from the poor people, and that's why they're rich, right? Okay. So, and then of course, depletion is about every one of these global warming stories, right? We don't have enough of this and we have no oil left. I just went, we had an agricultural fair here on the island this weekend, all the animals. It was beautiful. And Guyana, one of the poorest countries historically in the world, not far from here, they don't have any nice beaches, so they never had any tourism. So they just have to deal with all the craziness. Now they found the biggest oil patch in the world. I mean, bigger than Venezuela next door, and so they're getting rich. I mean, really rich. And they had a delegation to sell some agricultural stuff here on Barbados. I bought a bunch of it. It was really nice hot sauce, and, all kinds of really good stuff made from there. And we've got more oil now. You understand that we have more oil with known reserves than we've had in history. That we're not going down. We have more known than we've ever had before. So we're not going to run out. We're not going to run out. Now, oil isn't always the best. It's great for rockets. It's not going anywhere. We're going to need it for heavy duty machines, and we're going to need it for those big dump trucks and the excavators, and there's all kinds of things that are going to require oil because it's so useful. But going down the road in a little electric thing is going to happen, right? We don't need to fire up a combustion engine to rip around this island. I'm on an island that's 70 miles long. How many cars do we need to get around this island, right? We got traffic jams all over the place. Um, it's not really efficient. And to get these cars on the island's a pain in the ass. They're super expensive and all the parts, and they end up rusting, and it's just a big junk pile, right? Imagine if we can get a cottage, and then you can't repair a car if it's missing one little piece because they don't make anything here. Where does the piece come from? Germany? Who knows, right? And hard to get here. So what you're going to find is you're going to get a cottage industry again of people who can tinker, make their own cars. You're going to have a locally styled car again here. I mean, they have some. They're called Mokes. They're real fun. They're just cut roofs off old Kias and turn them into tarp roofed convertibles and things like that. But you're going to get this at a scale that's much more interesting and aesthetically much more beautiful. So everything's changing, guys. Everything's changing, right? Let's see what the comments say here. Let's see if I got any. Okay, back to the audio stuff. Boo Bodacious says, have you read the Alex Gladstein piece on financial colonialism? I sure have. Yeah, it is the WEF, the IMF, and other NGO charitable. Yeah. Yeah, I know Alex. He'll be at our Bitcoin 2023 show May 18th to 20th in Miami. Let me also say I am going to get a good code for you guys. I know I owe Brandon a follow up on that. I've been trying to dig out of the hole of being sick and on that boat for so long. So I'll be back with you on that. Replace WEF with World Bank. Yeah. Yeah, those guys are bloodsuckers. Yes, that was an excellent essay, and Financial Times had something specific from ESCOM South Africa last week. Yeah, it's I'm worried about South Africa in the short term. Definitely not bullish, but I think South Africa is one of these places that really can leapfrog if they get over this tough time. Right, they really can, and we can rebuild all of this stuff. Because I mean, you're dealing with the most desirable place on the planet to live physically. I mean, it's amazing, right? I've never been. I've always wanted to go. I had a teacher when I was a kid who grew up there and swore it was the most beautiful place in the world. So he was a close teacher to me. I've always been interested, right? Life can't be fair at its base. It's a competition for resources. We have a cushy life and time to complain about fun stuff like gender. Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of it. But again, like fairness is a normal, children are hardwired to think about fairness and scarcity and these things, right? That's sort of what you notice when you're a parent is that like everything is like, why do adults get this? Why do older kids get this and I don't because I'm young? And everything is sort of about understanding what they get and what's fair and not fair. But as you get older, you got to start letting go of this fairness anchor, right? That there are things that will always be unfair. What you've got to get is an idea that there are equal opportunities for might be a different strategy, right? So, if I was in, just if I have two friends in America right now, I have a African American friend and a white friend, let's say, right? I would tell the African American who, if they came to me for advice, I'd say, yeah, go in the corporate world. You're going to do very, very well. Um, you know, get promotions, do all that stuff, right? I would give them that advice all day long. If a white friend came to me and said, "What should I do with my career?" I'd say, "Start a business, man." Right? Sorry, start a business. Go figure out a way to do it on your own. I would give separate advice. Now, I think both strategies can lead you to the same place. I'm not trying to. I don't think we need to change America at the level where everyone has the exact same opportunity, right? I'm okay with some affirmative action and all that in the corporate world, right? For whatever reasons, I don't mind, right? It doesn't bother me. But I understand why some people would complain that it's not fair. I get that too. But it's about opportunities and the different strategies that are available to you. As long as you have the same number of strategies that can get you success, I'm okay with that. Like that seems good enough to me for now, right? For now. But I'm not going to focus my attention on the unfairness of it. Like I'm not crying about all the white guys that didn't get a promotion and in some corporate world, right? In the end, I think the corporate world has a limited shelf life at this point, right? I do believe we're going to shrink the corporate world because of Bitcoin down to nothing. So, in some ways, the folks who are jumping out of the corporate world already are ahead of the game. And so it's just different opportunities and strategies. And both of them can lead to success. Both of them can allow you to have a family and be happy. So it's not perfect. You'd want something better, but as long as you're not focusing on the unfairness and instead you're embracing the opportunities, I think we're fine. Right? I think we're fine. Um, the fruits of labor are stolen through the invisible taxation. Yeah, that's the truth. That is absolutely it. And that's what allows for all this stuff to even happen. That's why you can even have these zero sum arguments, right? What you're normally dealing with here is someone who is robbed the system so much that I'm like, remember the people in that affirmative action scenario that I just described that are saying to young white men no promotions, those are also white men, right? So there are people screwing each other constantly because of this stuff, and it's not really about race, right? It's not really about that. It's people screwing each other because of the inability to actually follow the money and understand what's going on because it's all so confusing. Do the battery and electronic raw material become Yeah, so there's this question here: do batteries and electronics raw materials become an insane supply chain? Maybe, but I continue to be bullish on graphene and um, nanotechnology as a supercapacitor. Now, it hasn't really come to fruition. It's been almost 10 years that I'm waiting on it. I think that's normal for some really big changes, but I think we're going to be making batteries out of materials that are abundant. And graphene is simply, carbon. Like, you know how we made the first graphene pencil shavings. You just shave the a normal pencil with a knife, and you'll get graphene. Right? You'll get this nano engineered material. Now, that's not a perfect way to do it. You wouldn't do that at an industrial scale, but and then this stuff can just be fertilizer once it's burnt out. Right? I mean, some really amazing stuff is out there, and we're going to get it. So. Yeah. Totally agree on local first education. Free schools and homeschooling are the best. Yeah, that's what I embrace. That's what I embrace. I've been promoting local first for about 10 years, yeah, and have really expanding my understanding of local first exponentially. Yeah, and that's a big part of how we're going to win here, right? It's a reconfiguration of all of these systems, and Bitcoiners are way ahead of this. You look at the Texas Beef Initiative, you look at even just our own appetite for local foods and all these things. You get Justin who brings his own steaks and burners. He won't even eat when he takes a trip. You got to admire that. That's awesome. And more people doing that. That's the future. Under World Bank and IMF funded dictators. Yeah, they're the worst. They're the worst. Yeah. Or groups of individuals. Yeah, they are. They can be. The problem, I don't know if you've ever seen the episode we did on it, Boo Boo Bodacious, about corporations, but you've also got the Coase theorem, which is the theory of the firm or how these companies grow to such a size. And it is to, in the end, to manipulate the legal system, right? So in house lawyers, in house lobbyists end up bending the equilibrium of the legal system, and that's why you have a company in the first place. So, I think the main switch we need to have when it comes to corporates is it's this simple, right? We created a corporate person in order to engage in our responsibilities and obligations and have those things with individuals, and we created a corporate they're a person, right? A company is a person, which is a collective collection of persons, but they have the same or a similar legal um, um, framework. What I hope to see happen, and I think Bitcoiners are going to be part of this, especially as we continue to grapple with banks and institutions and the size of them as we move forward. And I think you should have this for both governments and corporations, right? Innocence until proven guilty is a personal thing. That's for human beings, right? I am innocent until proven guilty because I can go to jail, right? Governments and corporations, you can't throw a company in jail. There's no such thing as throwing a company into jail, right? So I think soon, this is a prediction I have. Within the next 5 years, you're going to see a flip of responsibility so that companies and governments now are guilty until proven innocent when it comes to certain types of allegations and certain types of circumstances. And that could help us a lot, just that little pivot, right? Like, why the hell do they get the presumption of innocence? In any way, should a government get presumption of innocence anymore? No. Well, why? We can't throw the government into jail. We can throw individuals into jail, but that's not the same, right? You get all these weasel words all the time. Like, look at even this thing that the reason why, in our Moscow time today, when we talked about the intelligence community, it's the minority view that it was a lab leak, right? Well, if you read the weasel words of the Department of Energy, right, it was the same as the 51 known liars who signed the Hunter Biden suppression thing. It was the earmarks of Russian disinformation, right? So when they say the earmarks of, that's a way out. Well, it just looked like it, right? They didn't say it was. They get the way out, right? So um, we can we can start seeing that play out as we go forward, and you can't let them hide behind the weasel words anymore, right? You throw the weasel words in front of a corporation or a government entity, and then everyone says, "Oh, look, I gave myself enough flexibility," right? That's why we can't, you know, indict these 51 known liars. All they said was, "We know, we know what they were going for," right? But all they said was, "It looks like it. It looks like Russian disinformation." And then the media can be trusted to do their job to say they said it's Russian disinformation, but they gave themselves the weasel words. And the Department of Energy did it here again with the lab leak, right? They gave the weasel words so that the CNN politics knows how to chop up that conclusion. But as far as I'm concerned, we got to flip responsibility here. They're not going to jail. So the presumption of innocence is not important. Right? The presumption of innocence is to jail. It is our defense. There is no way to put a department or jail. There is no such thing. So it's for them to be guilty until proven innocent in many instances, and that would, I think, help shrink the surface area of companies and shrink the surface area of the government, which is one of our goals. Right? Yeah. Good corporations lead by small groups of people treating their smaller group well. Same exists as the opposite. Yeah, yeah. There's good. No one's. There's very good companies for sure, for sure, for sure. I work. Bitcoin Magazine's a company, right? We're tiny. It's great, right? Everyone's motivated. So there's definitely good companies. Right? Fallacy of the collective nouns. Yeah. All right, team. I'll be back out there today. I'm going to be doing a pre-record of Moscow time and a pre-record of your reason to break up with this crazy fiat world of ours today. All right, team. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Peace.